Hello, my name is Ahmed Umati, and my presentation today will be on Porter's generic strategies. Before diving into the presentation, we'll go through the table of content. So we'll start by defining and explaining what Porter's strategies consist of. We'll go through each of the four strategies, give examples of companies that use those strategies. Then we'll move to alternative strategies that companies can use for analysis, and finally open room for questions and answers. So first we need to understand what are Porter generic strategies. Porter's generic strategies are strategies that can be used by companies to determine the direction in which the organization wants to move towards. In his book, Porter suggests that there are four strategies which companies can choose from, and those strategies are cost leadership, differentiation, cost focus, and differentiation focus strategies. Porter also argues that for companies to be successful in the direction in which they are going, they need to be clear on the choice of the strategies they're adopting in order to beat the competition they're facing. So, companies do not only need to know about those strategies, but they need to analyze and see which strategy will give them a head start or an advantage over their competitors. We'll start with the cost leadership strategy. So, this strategy focuses on targeting a broad market, so large demand, and offer the lowest possible price. There are usually two options in which companies who choose this strategy can focus on. They can either keep the costs as low as possible or ensure that they have a larger market share and can sell the products at average prices. The main objective that companies have in mind when they adopt this strategy is to keep the company cost as low as possible. A great example of a company that uses cost leadership strategy is IKEA. Before we go on how IKEA uses this strategy, there are two clarifications that we need to make. The companies that use the cost leadership strategy, they usually have high capital investment, and that's clear with IKEA. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, company when it comes to um, home furnishings. They have efficient logistics and low prices when it comes to labor and so on and so forth. The companies that engage in the cost leadership strategy also focus on internal processes, and that's clear with IKEA. We'll explain how. So when IKEA is in business, when they're contacting a supplier, they look for suppliers that have the best sub assembles at the lowest cost, and then they have the clients mount the furnishings or the purchases they made. So what that means is they are trying to reduce cost as much as possible. If you go to IKEA, if you go to maybe to another store and then you want to purchase the same table at IKEA, it will be more expensive because in another store there's the cost associated to mounting it. IKEA does a great job at eliminating that cost. Also, the fact that IKEA gives out their materials like the clients need to assemble it themselves, it reduces the cost of transportation. It's easier to transport items that are disassembled than a full mounted table or shelf. So IKEA is a good example of a company that uses cost leadership strategy because they have the capital investment. They save a lot when it comes to labor because they don't have to pay people to mount um, their products. They have very good logistics. IKEA has shops around the world and they've been doing good and they're a leader in their category. So they've actually been able to emphasize on this strategy and it works for them. The second strategy we'll discuss is the differentiation strategy. So in this strategy, you focus on targeting a broad market, but your product has unique features. So to make it easier to understand, the products in this category that of companies that use the differentiation strategy, they focus on making the product as exclusive as possible so that it will be more attractive than what the competition is offering. And for this strategy, success is attained through research and development. So companies that choose this strategy, they always associated with research, development, innovation, and also the ability to adapt to the client demands and deliver the services quickly. The organizations that focus on the strategy, obviously, they are very creative. They have to see what the outside world is doing because they have to be able to adapt to the trends that are going and what the customer prefers. A very good example of a company that uses a differentiation strategy is McDonald's. McDonald's has differentiated themselves in the speed at which they provide services, and that competitors are not yet able to match it as of yet. They have given their customers the chance to have convenience, speed, and a value added value of service. I'll take an example. During lunch or during any time, McDonald ensures that customers spend less than 30 seconds at the counter. This means that if you have a short break of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can actually go down to a McDonald's and because of that speed, get a good service in a reduced amount of time. One campaign that McDonald's also launched around 2012 or around that period was the Happy Meal. So the Happy Meal was you buy a burger, they give you a toy which has a value of more about $50 for kids, and that campaign, the intention was to remove the mind of customers on the pricing of the burger and put it more on the value of the service they're having. So yes, maybe the price of the burger is higher than the competition, but also the value that you are getting, the Happy Meal, the toys that you are getting, it makes you feel more happy or more special about it, and then you are inclined to come in more and more. And also, if their burger is, let's say, a little bit more expensive than competition, just the fact that you get served in a more convenient way, in a speedy way, pushes clients to remove their mind off prices and focusing more on the quality of the service they're getting. The next strategy will be the cost focus strategy. So for this strategy, the company focuses on a niche market and offer the lowest possible price. In order to be successful and keep the price as low as possible, you have to be clear on exactly what niche market you're going to serve, and you need to understand the dynamics of the market, the ins and out, to see how it works, and in that way you can be able to you'll be more competitive. A very great example is PepsiCo. PepsiCo, PepsiCo's focus strategy or cost focus strategy. PepsiCo has emerged as the second largest consumer of packaged goods, and that's why because they have a focused strategy. They have specialized in a niche market. They have developed customers loyalty which drives competition away. So people that buy products of PepsiCo, they are inclined, even if there's a fluctuation in price, just because they do not necessarily have access to substitute goods, they're inclined to buying more of PepsiCo's products. Also, their focus strategy has helped them to acquire companies such as Tropicana, Quaker Oats, which are in the same segments easily. So they were able to acquire and integrate those companies within the overall processes of PepsiCo easily. It has also helped them to move into newer markets because they have the customers, the customer base, the customer loyalty. They were able to explore new markets and easily enter and become successful in those markets. The next and the final strategy to be discussed is the differentiation focus strategy. For this strategy, the company or the business targets a niche market and provide a product which has unique features. This strategy heavily depends on strong loyalty among members, and the product has to stay unique in order to remain ahead of competition. So you always have to bring an exclusive feature. It always has to be different from competition to be able to continue selling and remaining in business. And the final example we have here is Mercedes-Benz because they use a differentiation focused strategy. Mercedes-Benz focuses on technology, they focus on styling, they focus on innovation, and those features enable them to put high pricing to their vehicles. Those vehicles, even though the prices are higher than other vehicles, they still sell. Why? Because Mercedes has been able to develop a strong customer loyalty base, of customers that are always there, willing and able to participate in making the product better, and always willing and able to pay the amount for the services. And because they have a small niche market target of people that are that have developed customers loyalty, they have a higher profit margin, because even though the prices are set to be high so that only a selected few can buy, hence the profit margins are also very high compared to other vehicles. To conclude the presentation, we will talk about alternative strategies that businesses can use when analyzing their activities or in order to become more competitive. Before a business can decide which product strategy they adopt, they need to perform a SWOT analysis. So SWOT, as we've discussed in other courses, the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. They need to know, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. That's the first thing they need to do. Step two, they also need to understand the industry, and to be able to understand the industry in which they operate, they need to use the five forces analysis. So the five forces analysis are, or the five forces that influence an industry are: the power of the suppliers, the power of customers, the availability of comparable products, the threat of new entrants, and internal competition. Once they do that, they can now compare the results of the SWOT analysis and the five forces analysis to understand, okay, these are our strengths, our weaknesses, these are the five forces that influence our market. Based on that, they can develop a better sense on which product strategy they can implement. So, as an alternate strategy, I recommend that instead of just choosing a five product strategy, a strategy out of the four product strategy, you need to analyze, you need to understand your business, you need to understand what your business can do, the limitations that your business have, and you need to understand the industry. Based on that, you can now tailor your strategy to become more realistic and to be able to solve the problem at hand. With that, I'm going to conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any question, please feel free to write it down. I'll be more than happy to come back to reply. And again, this presentation was done by Ahmed Umate. Thank you.